So you do the 10 minutes reading time on comprehension. What's the first thing that you read in that 10 minutes reading time? The questions. I would do it one at a time. So read the first question that pertains to the visual text or the poem, whatever is the first text. Say it's a poem. Okay, there's a poem. Don't read the poem yet. Read the question. What's the first thing you look at with the question? The marks. Imagine you have a poem that's 3 marks, and that's the only question on the poem. And then you have a non-fiction extract, which is 8 marks. You do not want to spend as long reading that poem, correct? Because really, you only need 2 solid pieces of evidence and a good conceptual kind of topic sentence. So for a 3 marker, you can have a topic sentence backed up by 2 strong pieces of evidence explained, and there's your 3 marks. So it's 3 sentences, 3 marks. Now, what does that mean? It means when I'm reading the poem, after I've identified the key terms of the question, how many techniques am I really looking for? 2. So therefore, you don't need to spend that long in the text. Read the poem, read it once, and then in your head, ask yourself, what's the gist of the poem? What's the general purpose or message of this text? What's something I think it could be about? There's not one way of interpreting a text. That's the beauty of it. And if you can't answer that, don't worry, you just go straight to step 2. It doesn't matter if you don't understand the text. You can still get full marks. That's the beauty of comprehension. You don't have to understand every aspect of a poem. Poems are very hard to understand typically, right? They're giving you a few minutes to look at a poem, and somehow you're meant to understand the poem. It's very hard. Hopefully, they'll give you a slightly easier one that's a bit more obvious in its meaning. But if they don't, that's okay. What you do is you go to step 2. I read it the second time, and now all I'm doing, and you could do this a little bit the first time you read it, now what you're doing is you're looking for the amount of techniques that correspond to the question. So 3 marks, I need at least 2 good techniques, different techniques, and I need to make sure that those 2 techniques say something different to one another. They both need to answer the question. And what's the other point that I'm making? They've got to say something different. People will write similarly, or this reinforces this, and then you go on to say much the same point, even though it's a different piece of evidence. But you're not saying anything new. You're not going to get the mark. So you need to offer 2 different perspectives for the 3 marker that this is. They only have to be slightly different because obviously they're connected to the same idea. So the best thing to look for is contrasting perspectives in the text. So if I'm going to quickly find 2 techniques, I'll quickly look at the text, and I'm straight away I usually just get a piece of evidence from the first line, and then I look at the end of the poem, and usually there's a bit of a shift. That's usually what happens over the course of a text, right? Some kind of shift in tone. They're 2 easy, different perspectives. If your 2 techniques are 1 line apart, they might be about the same thing. You're putting yourself in a bit of a corner there. So I try and grab a piece of evidence from the start and a piece from the end, if it's 3 marks. If I need 2 pieces of evidence, I go to the different sections of the text, quickly locate a technique, and then link that to the question, or the key term of the question. There's usually going to be 1 key term. Paradox, inconsistency. So that's what we mean by read actively. So you have read the question, you look at the marks, don't put more time and energy into it than you need.